I guess Halloween and I got off to a rocky start. When I was 2 years old, my mother dressed me as a witch and took me out to go trick-or-treating in the Washington, D.C. apartment building where we lived at the time. And shortly after we got going, I was so excited, I couldn't wait. Shortly after we got going, a teenager in a scary mask thought he would be funny, and he was probably enjoying his Halloween, and he jumped out at me from behind a post and said, "Rawr," in his scary mask. And I ran back to our apartment, went in the door, and refused to come out for the rest of the night. And that may be my first memory, I'm not really sure, or it may be one of those memories that's kind of constructed because you've heard the story so many times. But I do seem to have a memory of being in a stairwell in an apartment and a very tall person with a scary mask kind of leering at me. We know that fear is a very, very powerful emotion. It creates powerful hormones inside of us. It actually helps us to embed memories. So it may very well be that that is my first memory, because fear is such a powerful, strong emotion. And that may be why we seek out these experiences every year on October 31st, because in addition to all the frightening feelings, there's also a release of dopamine, which is the pleasure, the happiness hormone as well. So there's something about that fearful experience and the idea of all these mysterious things happening that actually is enjoyable in some strange way. And so that has become, for us here in the United States and for many places that celebrate Halloween, has become sort of the defining zeitgeist, or the defining mood of this holiday, this fear and mystery, along with, of course, a sugar high from eating all the candy bars, either the ones that we didn't give out at our doors, or the ones that we got from trick-or-treating, or the ones that just seem to be all around at this time of year, right? You can't really get away from it, even if you want to. But the origins of this holiday are actually much more complex and have much more depth than just dressing up in scary costumes and eating candy bars, as we know. And I think that if we look at the way we celebrate Halloween here in the United States, we see that we have this kind of denial of the other part of the holiday, which is about getting in touch with whatever's going on internally with us, and with the fact of our own mortality, and with our relationships with those who have departed us, and what we believe about where they have gone. So all of those things that we don't really like to face in this culture become a kind of cultural shadow. And so I think on Halloween, that's when that sort of shadow comes out, right? And we play with all these scary ideas because they do frighten us. And we binge on candy because we know that the next day, in the Christian calendar anyway, is All Saints' Day, and it's time to be good again, right? So almost like we have that one last chance to get all our evil stuff out and eat all the bad stuff, and then we have to be good again. So our culture has created this long tradition of these monsters and these vampires and these demons that frighten us and worry us when we're sitting in the dark. And I wonder if it's because we refuse to connect with the mortal side of life, right? The fact that we're all going to die, the fact that we've lost many people already, and not knowing what to do with all of that. And I wonder if this year, especially, as it does for me, I wonder if Halloween feels a little bit empty for you. As much fun as it is and as much as I love it, I want there to be a deeper meaning to this holiday that is about death and loss and uncertainty, and the uncertainty of being a human being in this world. Especially during these times when we have lost so many people in the pandemic, when we have said goodbye to loved ones, when we have faced the sadness and the loss. I want Halloween to be a holiday that's more like a full meal deal, not just a candy bar. I want it to be an intergenerational holiday, not one that we just say is for the kids. As much as the kids love it, I want us all to be able to engage with this ancient tradition. I don't want it to be about a specific set of beliefs, though. And so I'd like to reach back into pagan traditions, which are about living on our planet and the march of the seasons and the way that the seasons turn and bring us new perspectives with each month. So Halloween, the ancient tradition of Samhain in European traditions, and also the tradition in the Latin world of Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, was based on the solar calendar. It is about at the midpoint between the autumnal equinox towards the end of September and then the winter solstice, which is in December, of course, around the time that European cultures often celebrate Christmas. So halfway in between those 2 points is a place where the sun actually reaches what's called its nadir in the tropics, where it actually stands. If you're standing at midnight on a certain place in the tropics, the sun is directly below your feet. And so the image of the sun going underground, the sun disappearing for a while into the underground to find new truths, to explore the unconscious, to be a little bit more internal, was a part of this holiday in many parts of the world. So I've been trying to envision what a holiday would look like, and let me just say, I don't want to take away the candy, and I don't want to take away the costumes, and I don't want to take away the fun parties, and I don't want to take away the cosplay and all the enjoyment that we get out of all of that. But I just want to bring some deeper meaning to this holiday, this place where we find ourselves, this 2021, when we need to come to terms with so much loss, so much fear, so much uncertainty about living. So what would be the values that we would embrace in this new conception of Halloween, or maybe this rediscovered Halloween? Well, I would like to propose a list of values that I will share with you and see what you all think. First of all, the value of empathy. If we think about the story of the widow's broom, the widow Shaw encounters a very strange woman in her garden. She sees her fall from the sky. She's dressed differently. She obviously is coming from a very different world, the mysterious world of magical creatures. And yet, unlike the Spivey's, who decide she's evil and everything about her that she's brought is evil too, Widow Shaw becomes compassionate and curious about this creature. She sees that she's tired and wounded, and she reaches out to care for her. So she ends up having some wonderful gifts from her encounter with this unusual creature, this unusual woman. And because of her courage of not being afraid, but actually being compassionate, she finds a whole new life with this mysterious broom, right? This broom that can play beautiful tunes on the piano and do all of her housework for her and be this marvelous companion for this lonely woman. So the value of empathy at Halloween is about making friends with something that is unusual or frightening or scary or mysterious. If I had been able to maybe have a little bit longer encounter with that teenage boy, maybe it would have been okay. Maybe if I hadn't run away, we would have worked through it, and I wouldn't have been afraid of teenagers for the next 17 years of my life until I was one. So in dressing up in costumes and in embodying someone else, someone who's very different than ourselves, we can talk to children, or we can think about the virtues of that character that we've chosen and why we were drawn to that particular character. If we decided to be Superman, what is it about Superman that particularly drew us to him? What is it about the witch that either frightens us or intrigues us? And we can talk to children about this, and if they're embodying a scary creature, maybe we can ask them why they think that creature is the way they are, and encourage them to understand the lives of others who are very different than ourselves. This practice can develop a curiosity rather than a fear when children are encountering new situations, new people, new cultures. The second value that I would like to bring forth for this new conception of Halloween is the value of creativity. And we see incredible creativity with people's Halloween decorations in their yards and with their costumes and with envisioning stories and exciting dramas about creatures of the night. And I would like to propose that, like our ancestors, some of our ancestors who celebrated Samhain, would take pumpkins and take turnips and carve them, and simple things from around their homes, candles and simple materials, and create something really unique and mysterious looking. That perhaps we think about reusing materials. We think about finding costumes and creating things from things that we already have around the house. That we use our creativity to reuse and recycle materials, because Halloween is actually a time when there is great excessive buying of plastic materials and things that were created just for this one holiday. And then an enormous amount of stuff gets thrown away. So looking at our value, our Unitarian Universalist value of the seventh principle, the interdependent web of existence, we can try to be creative and inventive and also conservative, right? Conservative meaning conserving materials and reusing them rather than purchasing things that we will just use one time. The third value that I would like to propose for this celebration of Halloween is the value of memory and tradition. So I believe that the reason that we have so many scary creatures and scary hobgoblins about this holiday is that we actually have a lot of trouble in our culture facing death and facing our relationship to death. So we also have a tendency to be amnesiac about the past. So one of the ways that we can really approach this holiday of Halloween is by getting in touch with our ancestors, as in the practice of Dia de los Muertos, where people create altars to their ancestors. They put pictures of their ancestors on an ofrenda or an altar. They make foods that their ancestors will enjoy or that were favorites of their ancestors, and they put them on the table as well. And they believe that the spirits of the ancestors come very close, that the two worlds, the world of the ancestors and the world that we're living in, come very, very close together at this time of year. And so they want to, rather than warding off the spirits, right, as sometimes we think of Halloween, they're actually calling the spirits. They're calling the folks who live in the city of the dead to come to them and bless them with memories and with presence. So what if, I mean presence with a C, by the way, not presence with a T, right? Yeah, presence. So what if we reoriented ourselves towards the spirits? What if we explored the idea of calling the spirits to us and receiving and giving a blessing, so that there's a continuous relationship there between us, the living, and the folks who have gone before. And we have the opportunity each year to revisit our memories, fun stories and sad stories, to weep and to laugh and to enjoy being together with our families and our loved ones, and enjoy all the memories that our ancestors gave us. And this could also be a practice that continues throughout the year of calling on our ancestors. And I mean not just our familial ancestors, but our spiritual ancestors, people who embodied spiritual courage, people who offered something to the world. We can call on those people in moments of doubt or moments of fear to help us to embody the qualities that they most exemplified during their lives. And the fourth ingredient of my fantasy holiday of Halloween is getting in touch with our mortality, so practicing acceptance. If you think about some Christmas stories, right, that may be familiar to us, such as A Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life, the film. If you really think about them, they are, in a way, ghost stories, right? They're stories where there's an encounter with death. This was a tradition long ago at all holidays. Certainly Christmas, scary stories were told, and people thought about the moment of their deaths and what it would be like. And we can also follow this practice. It may sound morbid, but actually people who report doing this, report thinking about and meditating on impermanence and the fact that we're all going to die, and meditating on the moment of our death, and also the the importance of our life, right? When we really get in touch with the moment of our death, it helps throw into relief what is really important in life. And so we can ask ourselves, well, is this something that is going to go on my tombstone? For example, is this something that will be remembered, or is this less important? Is this not about really my deepest values? And by kind of letting go, meditating on impermanence, understanding that we are here, we are passing through, we are like the leaves of the trees, right? We are going to turn color and fall off the trees and learn to pass into the next cycle of our lives. That this can also be a practice that we follow on Halloween and throughout the year. So I invite you on this Halloween, if any of these ideas intrigue you, or if you want to learn more about the way that this time of year and its honoring is practiced in other cultures, other countries, I invite you to do that. You don't have to do all of them, of course, but maybe we could each start working on finding a way to connect to Halloween that has meaning for all of us, and that isn't just about candy and scary stories, that has some kind of spiritual significance as well. And I will keep working on acknowledging my shadow, which is that I still sometimes have a little bit of a fear of teenagers. But as we continue to explore the ideas about Halloween, as we continue to go inside of our shadow, so to speak, as a culture, maybe, just maybe, we can find a more whole and holy existence during this time of the year. Thank you. And I would like to wish you all a happy, happy Halloween in whatever you decide to do. Our closing words today are from Doña Maria Avila de Vera, who is a Maya elder, who I was lucky enough to learn from about the Dia de los Muertos. She says, "Always remember that you can consult your ancestors. They are with you always. Listen to your ancestors, and when you feel you have lost your way, trust your ancestors to bring you back onto the true path." We will extinguish our chalice today, and then we will have a brief postlude, and then I want to just share that we are having a congregational meeting today, which I believe will happen directly after the service. So we ask that you stay for the congregational meeting, and we hope that we can make it move along pretty quickly. So. To extinguish our chalice, I have some closing words that are written by Hal Walker, a songwriter. May our chalice burn all through this long night. May our hearts be open, and may our minds fulfill the promise of peace. Thank you. Jackson.